Okay? So, at the end of this module, you should be able to, sorry for the wrong spelling, let me correct it. Nakakita ko kaagad. You should be able to demonstrate and apply file manipulations in Python. If I remember it right, meron na kayong idea dito sa file manipulation eh. Yung ginagawa ninyong activity number 3 yata siya, na nagse-save kayo ng output sa file, no? Nagra-write kayo through the file. So yun yung ating file manipulations. However, this afternoon I'm going to demonstrate to you some useful ways on how you can actually save your files. And then later dun sa demo ng crude, no? Yung sa demo ng final project, I'm going to teach you on how to create a database, no? So magke-create kayo ng database kasi yun yung gagamitin niyo sa final project. All right? Okay, and then finally, you will be able to demonstrate and apply graphical user interface elements in object-oriented programming. So yeah, I'm going to give you some introduction and demonstration of simple graphical user interface para may background kayo kung paano nyo gagawin yung project nyo. Okay? Alright, so let's start now by the Python file input-output operations. No? Why it is called input-output operations in Python files. No? Because here, you're going to understand the different file operations in Python. No? Like for example, when you want to open a file using Python, when you want to read a file, read from it, when you want to write into it, and when you want to close the file after you use it. So today we're going to understand those methods, no? And those methods are very important, and you should be aware of those different activities that we do in files, no? Opening, closing, editing, reading from the file. And basically yun yung tinatawag nating CRUD, no? Yung create, read, update, and delete. Okay? So, what are files? Files are actually, we already know about files, no? They are saved inside our computer, no? And they are permanently stored, no? Kasi when we declare, when we try to code using Python, and then we declare variables, we declare constants, no? After the program was run, and when you close the program, you are not able to save the files, no? You are not able to to store the result, no, of the program. That is why some of you may have proposed, and I rejected the proposal because you propose an application that when you close it, you cannot save the output, no? The essence of your project is that even if you close the program, your output should be stored permanently in your database. So that is what we call a file. Okay? So files are used to permanently store data in non-volatile memory like the hard disk. Okay? Kasi when you use a program, no? When you try to load the program, in-execute nyo yung program, saan na-store yung values ng program natin? Na-store lang siya sa temporary flash memory, no? We call it the random access memory. That every time you close the program, o kaya when you turned off the computer, you lose the data, no? So hindi mo na siya masasave. Okay? So why do we need to save the files, no? It's because we can use it for future references, no? We can use it for future applications, etc., etc. That is why we need to permanently store the data or the files. So when you want to read or write to the file, of course, we need to open the file, no? We cannot read a file or write into a file without opening the file, okay? So, and also, if you open the file to read or to write into it, you also need to close that file so that every time you close the file, the essence is that all the resources that are needed, no, all the resources that are tied into the files will be freed. No, that is the essence of closing the file. Okay, so yan. And in Python, a file operation takes place in the following order. No? Una, we open the file and then we do the operation. So the operation could be one of the two. It could be read or write. Read means only to display the the content of the file. Yeah. And also you can use it for searching, yung read, no? When you read, you search, 'di ba? And then write naman is all about editing the file, no, the contents of the file. Or if you want, you can add something to the file, no? When you add something to the file, ang term na yon ay we call it append, no? Append. And that is why mamaya ma-encounter niyo yung mga terms na yon. Okay? And then of course, the third operation that takes place is if you open it and you did something to it, no, and you perform operation either read or write, you have to close the file. Okay? Now let's study about opening the files in Python. Now you can see here the code for this is actually a function, no? Open is a function in Python. It's a built-in operation, no? It is used to open a file, and inside the parentheses, no? Inside the parentheses, okay, we placed here the name of the file, no? So of course, when you have to type, no, something here, you have to put an open and close quote, double quotes. It could be a double quote or it could be a single quote. That means you're trying to open this file, no? Okay? So this is an example. What about F? Yung F dito is what we call a handle. Okay? So definitely what is a handle? It's an object. No? Okay? So this function, this means that this function returns a file object. So itong ginagawa natin dito, okay? So F is the handle or the object. And then whatever it is that you're trying to open, you put it inside this object, no? This object F. Okay? And then the open is used to open the name of the file called sample underscore text.txt. Okay? So make sure that the file you're trying to open is inside the directory of your Jupyter notebook. No? Like for example, in my case, I am inside my documents, and inside my documents, I have a folder CPE009, and the name of the folder is CPE009 Object-Oriented Programming. No? And then this is where Module 5 notebook is, no, is saved. Okay? But actually, there are also lots of file, no? If you would like to check, no, the contents of the directory inside this directory, no, you can use later. I'm going to show you on how you can execute how do you know the contents of the directory in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, but for now, you will see if I try to open this or I try to execute this. Let me just run this one. You can see that there is an error. Okay, so the error number 2, sabi dito, it says file not found error, meaning the file that we're trying to open cannot be located on that directory where this module 5 notebook, Python notebook is saved. Okay? So, kaya ito yung nagre-result. So, when you try to open a file, make sure that the file you're trying to open is inside that directory. Alright? Since wala, so you will encounter a file not found error. This is a common error in opening a file. Other than this one, no, if the file is not there, if the file is misspelled, no, meaning if you try to type a wrong spelling of the name of the file, even if the file is there, but if you type a wrong spelling, it will also say file not found error. So medyo maselan si Python. Okay? Now, since wala palang sample underscore text.txt in this directory, so maybe we can try to open another file, okay? So this is the path, no? As you can see from here, we have a path, no? As you can see, as I explained to you a while ago that I have a folder inside my document. So this is the users. In Windows, you will see here users, no? This is in my drive C. Inside the users folder and inside my folder, no, I am the user, no, JVTI. It's being shortened by Windows, no, into 5 letters only. And then inside my documents, I have a folder called CPE009 Object-Oriented Programming. And inside that, I have a text called sample.txt. Remember when I tried to open this one, sample underscore text.txt, the file cannot be found. It cannot be located because it's not really inside the folder. Okay? So definitely there will be a file error that it will say no such file or directory. Okay? So when I try to open now sample that text, since I know that there is a text called sample there, no, inside this folder, so I use the same name of the handle called F, no? And then when I try to execute this one, and then when I try to issue the command F and then run it, no? So you will see here that this is an input-output text input-output wrapper, okay? Meaning that this is an object, okay? And the name of the object is in this path, no? This is the name of the path, and this is the name of the file, as you can see from here, okay? Along with it, you will also see the mode read, no? This is the default attribute when you're trying to open a file, okay? And the encoding here is CP1252. Encoding is um, actually an attribute um, of when you want to open a file. Okay, so let's try to open the file, sample the text again. Okay, and then try to see the content of the handle. So when you try to check on the handle, you will see here that this is an input-output object. No, the name of the file is sample.txt and the mode is R, which means read. Okay, and there are many attributes other than read. Now, later I'm going to show you. And the encoding type is the algorithm of the text, which is CP1252. Okay, since it's I think this is for Windows, no? If you have a different operating system, maybe you're using a MacBook or a Linux operating system, maybe your encoding would be different from this one. Okay, now I have here another example, no, on how to open a file. Okay, usually when we try to open a file, we usually open a text file, no, because text file can be easily opened, no, especially in Python. Okay, so here I have another handle, no, so I use G for the handle, and then this one is not inside my folder, but this one is inside my drive C. No, if you're going to check your drive C, and if there are notepad there, you can check it out. No, just type the correct name of the file. Like in this case, I have eula.1028.txt. No, eula means end user license agreement. No, this is, I think, automatically saved in Drive C whenever you installed something, no, from an application. Okay, so this is a end user license agreement. So when I try to open this one, no, and then execute this one, okay, so yan, we can see here that here you will see that this is now the path, no? The path that I used to open here before is inside my documents and CPE 009 object-oriented programming. But this time I specified the path, no? So you can actually specify the path of the file you're trying to open. No? For example, if the file is inside your downloads folder or in music folder, you can specify the path of your file. As long as you're typing the correct path of the file, then there's nothing to worry. Okay? Hey. Now, I have another example here. I will now try to open this file from my documents. I have here hosts, okay, host.txt. So I name it host as the handle. So if I try to execute this one and also this one, you will see that they have similar properties. No, the mode is R and the encoding technique or the attribute is CP1252. Okay, so basically it's the same as this one, no? Okay, so you can see that it's either you use this complete path or you put something here. So you can see here, anong difference nito dito? Actually, there are no difference because the output's still the same. But you can see here you have a double backslash. Okay, you have a double backslash here and a double backslash in each directory. But here, okay, the R here will be used to remove any error that you will encounter if you try to open this one, because this one is using a backslash, no, a forward slash. This is a forward slash and this is the correct path, no. This is the correct path. When you copy something from the path in the URL of your file, okay, or in the properties of your file, if you try to open that, so you will see here a forward slash. So what happens if we try to remove the R? Okay, so let's try to delete the R. I remove the R here. So you will see that this is not a valid this is not a valid path. No, it says there is a syntax error. The problem here is the Unicode error. Okay, because here you're using some symbols that maybe is very unfamiliar to this function open. So you need to use a Unicode escape codec, okay? And this should be in position 2 to 3. Ayan, sabi niya, truncated, etc., escape. Definitely, this is a problem, no? So, but this could be solved by putting an R, okay? So if you put an R here, that means this code will be eliminated. Okay, so this code will not be there anymore if you try to run it. So let me try to run it. Okay, you see there's no error anymore. It's because I put an R here. Okay, so every time that you use a forward slash, you can use it as long as you have an R here. Okay, but if you're going to use a double backslash, okay lang naman, no? Pwede rin tayong gumamit ng double backslash, even if you don't put the R here. Okay? So it's a matter of choosing which one do you prefer. They are both the same, no? Okay? Now, you can see here the mode is R, no? Actually, we can specify the mode, no? That is the mode. We can specify the mode while opening a file. Now, in mode, we specify whether we want read, no? And in this case, we did not mention the mode, but the default mode in opening a file is read, no? Why do you want to open the file? Because you want to read the file. So definitely it's a good logic, no, in the part of the programmers who did this. because the default mode for opening a file is read, by the way, no? Okay? And then the other one is write, no? You want to open the file because you want to write into it, or you want to append, no? So these are the symbols for read R, for write W, and append, or meaning of append is to add something, no? You did not change anything, but you add something to the file. In write, you change something because you have written something into it, no, to the file. So these are all different modes, no, R, W, and A. And we can also specify if we want to open the file in text mode, okay, or binary mode. I'm going to give you some example of this one later. But the default is reading, no? So as I told you and mentioned you a while ago, the default mode is reading. And in this mode, we get the strings when reading from the file. On the other hand, binary mode returns bytes, and this is the mode to be used when dealing with non-text files like images or executable files. So the other mode descriptions are as follows. No, you encountered already R, it's used for reading, the default one. And then number 2, we have W, which is, that means you're opening the file because you want to write. Okay, so what you do is that you create a new file. This is also used for creating a new file, but if the file does not exist, or truncates the file if it exists. So that means if the file is not existing, okay, and you try to use W, this means it will create a new file. Okay, so that is what we use in actually creating a new file. We use not R, but we use W. Okay. Another one is append. No, in number 4, you will see append opens a file for appending at the end of the file. Now without truncating it, and it also creates a new file if it does not exist. The next one is X. Okay, X is used to open a file for exclusive creation. No, that means if the file already exists, this operation will not takes take place anymore. Okay. Now we also have what we call T. Okay. This means that the file, when you want to read it, it will open in the text mode. Okay. This is the default actually, no. Okay. And then B is in binary mode. Binary means it will be displayed as zeros and ones if you want to open the file. Or the properties of the file that you're trying to open will be displayed in binary format or in other symbols. Okay? Symbols that you will not understand except the computer. Okay? Yeah. And in number 7, the last mode description is plus. Okay? The symbol used is plus, which means it opens a file for updating, reading, and writing. So here are some examples. No, this one is the same as having to open it, no, without designating a mode. That means the default is R. Okay, that is the default. Then yung number 1 natin dito na description, this would be the default. No, so if you will not put something here and you open a file, like for example you open this one, that means this one has an equivalent value of like this one, no? Like this one, no? You open the file, you put a comma, and then you specify the mode, which is R. But definitely, there's no need for this because this one is enough. Okay? So if you not put something here as an attribute, that means you are using the R because this is the default mode for opening the file. The W here corresponds for writing. This means that if you are opening this file and you want to write in text mode, okay? And this one is different, no? Because this one you want to read this image, no? But the image that you would like to read is in binary mode. Okay? So That's going to be different. Okay? Now, unlike other languages, the character does not imply the number 97 until it is encoded using ASCII or other equivalent encodings. So moreover, as you can see here, it was explained here that the default encoding is platform independent. Now, in Windows, it is CP1252. But in Linux, it's called UTF-8. Okay? So we must not also rely on the default encoding, or else our code will behave differently in different platforms. So that means sometimes you're opening a file and the words are all scrambled, no? Maybe because you opened a file that has been formatted differently, no, from other platforms. Okay? Because there are multiple platforms, meaning there are many operating systems, and those are platforms. And each operating system has its own encoding technique, no? So you have to specify your encoding, okay? So like in this example here, I am opening test.txt, and then the mode is R, just to read the file. And then the encoding here is UTF-8, meaning UTF-8 means it is from a Linux operating system. Okay? So if you try to specify that one, that means this file will display properly even if it is in Windows, because you already specified the encoding technique. All right? So I'm going to run this one as an example. You can see here, if you try to issue the F or the handle, it will say that I am an object and my name is test.txt, my mode is read, and my encoding is UTF-8. Okay, if you open the file, make sure to close your file, no? Because if you did not close, or if you do not close your file, what happens is that some of the resources that are tied up in your file may not be freely s- um may not be it sometimes it could cause problem, no, in your system. So that is why when you try to open a file, you have to close it properly. Okay? And even if you open some applications, diba? When you open an application, sometimes the application gets corrupted kapag nag-open tayo ng file and then we did not close it properly. All right? So how do we close it? No, by using the close and then open and close parentheses. So if in open, you have the open and then the open and close parentheses, you have to close it by calling the name of the handle and then use the function close. Just like that. Okay? So every time that you open, you have to close it like this. Okay? So basically, when you try to issue the command F, what will happen? It says here, so this method is what we call a safe method, no? If there are some errors, no, when we are performing some operation within the file, no? So the code will exit without closing the file. So this one is actually not entirely safe, meaning if you try to close it like this, no, sometimes um, the code will try to close the file, okay, or sometimes the code will exit without actually closing the file. So what we will apply as a solution is that a safer way to do it is by using the try and the finally block of codes. No, how do we use that? Just use the keyword try with a colon, and then you open the file, and then after that, if you want to close the file, you use the keyword finally and then colon, and then you close the file. All right? So ayan, so malinaw yan, ha? Okay, you want to open the file, the file, you use try, And if you want to close the file, you use finally. So this one is safer than this format. Okay? You have to use try and finally. Okay. What is being guaranteed here? Okay. Using this step of using try and finally guarantees that the file is properly closed even if an error or exception is raised, no? That, for example, causes the program flow to stop. And the best way to close a file is by using the with statement. No, you can also use this one, the with statement. Okay, how do you use the with statement? With, and then you open the file as F. No, you use the file as the handle. Okay, basically this one is similar to this. Okay, but you will use with statement. Okay, you convert this into a with statement by using the keyword with, and then you use the open, and you use the alias keyword. So this as is an alias, no, meaning that you're trying to open it using the handle F. Okay, so basically pares lang siya. Okay, I hope there's no question. If there are some questions that you would like to ask, you can ask me. If there are some um, explanation that it's very hard for you to understand, you can approach me. You can write your question in our public chat. But if there are none, I will proceed. Okay? I think it's time to proceed. Okay, don't worry, we'll have some break time later. Okay, so we'll now proceed with writing to files in Python. Now, how do we write files in Python? No? Now, in order to write into file in a Python, okay, we need to open it in write or W or append A or exclusive creation X mode. No. So there are three modes that you can use when you want to write to a file. It's either W, A, or X. But we need to be careful with the W mode, no? We need to be careful. Why? Because if you use W mode, it will always overwrite to the file that is already existing. Okay? If you use the W mode, remember, if you use the W mode, it will always overwrite, meaning it will erase the first file that you created and it will write the latest version of the file that you write into. Okay? Due to this, all the previous data are erased, no? So if you write, for example, a string or sequence of bytes for binary files, it is done using the write method. But this method returns the number of characters written to the file. Let me have some examples here. So using the with statement, we open OOP sample the text, and we are now trying to use the W. What again is W? We are going to write into the file. All right, we're going to write into the file, and then the encoding that we will try to use is UTF-8, no? And we're going to open it as F handle. And then we're going to write, no? So if you want to write something into that file that we're trying to open, okay? Now, what if you try to execute this one, okay? If the file does not exist, no? If this file does not exist, it will create a new file. But if we already have the file, then this following code will be used to execute the statements right. No? So what we're trying to do here is to write, hello everyone, and then we put a new line, meaning this will be written, no? The next line will be written on the next line. Since we're using here double slash, no, double slash, okay, double slash n, that means double forward slash n, okay? That means this is going to have two uh, two lines, no, entered, Okay, and then in the third line, we have, it contains 3 lines. Okay, so let's try to open this, execute this one, and then we try to open. Okay, and then we try to write hello world /n. Okay, so let's try to read now the file. Okay, so since we open it, no, okay, the next thing that we would do is to read. No, so what we will do now is to read the file. How do we read the file in Python? It says here you need to open it. No, see, so this one will be placed here. We will open the file. Okay, and then if we want to read the file, we just use f.read. Okay. Okay. Okay, we will try to read the file now. See? So, hello, students of OOP. Okay. So, I think this is the file. And I think these are, this is not what we're trying to see, you know? Because here it says, hello, students of OOP. So, if we try to, uh, to open and to execute this one again, once again, no? And then you try to run it, you can see here, hello, students of OOP, because there is already a file, no? There is already a file inside. Okay, there is already a okay. We did not open this one, no? So we want to open this one. So we will change the name of the file. So my mistake. So now I'm going to run this one, and you can see here, hello everyone. So it's the same with this, what we are written here. So this file is only a sample and it contains 3 lines, no? So if, for example, I change this one to hello CPE students, okay? Hello CPE students, for example, okay? And then I will write here, today is a gloomy day. Gloomy day. Because the sky is dark. And so if I try to run this one again, okay, so I will try to run it once again, and then I will open it to read the file inside. It will say, hello CP students, today is a gloomy day because the sky is dark. Okay, because this one is, but if I try again to write, no, you see I'm using the W mode with the same encoding technique, no, but then again, if I try to execute this, no, hello world, okay, let me try. And then if I try to open it again, no, by using these codes here and place it here, you will see that all the texts here that were written before are overwritten. Okay? So this code will erase whatever we did here. Okay? So this is what the lesson a while ago is telling us. Be careful of how you use the W mode, no? Because the W mode will try to erase the first written texts, no? It will try to erase, no? Every time you know. For example, I've tried to do it again, huh? I'm going to change it, no? I'm going to change it. For example, hi, my name is John. See, if I try to execute this once again and try to open it once again, so you will see that the content of the file was changed. All right? So I hope that is very clear to you. So this program, yan, blah, 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 okay, it created a file, okay? So we did not use text, but we use OOP sample.txt, no? But believe me, if the file, no, if this file is in the current directory, okay, it will create a new file. If it doesn't exist, but if it does exist, it is overwritten. No? The file will be overwritten. That's why we are using W to overwrite the contents of the file that is already saved here. Okay? So where is this file located? It is inside actually it's inside the file, no? So it's your, if you, I'm going to share you my entire screen, okay? And if I want to open that file inside CPE009, so ito siya, no? So asan dito yung ginamit natin, yung sample OOP, ano nga ang pangalan nun? Let's go back to the file name, OOP sample.txt. So let's proceed with that. OOP sample.txt. So where is it? This one, no? OOP sample.txt. So if you want to open this one, so you will see, hi, my name is John. So the file now is being saved permanently, no? Permanently. But this will be changed if you try to use the mode W. So if I try to execute this again, this one, okay? So i-run ko siya and then I'm going to open it once again, okay? You see here, it will tell us, hello CPE, and let's try to open that file, OOP sample, hello CPE students. Today is a gloomy day because the sky is dark, no? Same file, but now they have different contents. All right? Any questions so far? Any questions? Before I proceed, any questions? Okay, none. Okay. So I think malino naman sa inyo yung ano. Now, a while ago I used the read function but I did not put a number here, no? It's because if you did not put a number here, all the text will be read, no? From the first line to the second line to the third line up to the end of the line. Okay? But if you introduce some parameters here, no? For example, this one is 21. Reading this sample that text, no? It will say, yan, hello students of OOP. Meaning, it will print the first 21st characters. Okay? And then, if you try to issue again the next 4 letters or 4 characters, so sasabihin niya ito, these are the 4 characters. Okay? It includes the new line. So this one, new line is included in the counting. Okay? So that means you're reading the next 4 data. Now, if you try to read again, it will read now the rest until the end of the file. Okay? See? Okay? And if you try to issue once again, you will see now a blank string. So meaning, it will return an empty string. All right? Okay? So now, how do you get the current file position? Okay? So where are you now? So you have to use the command tel. Okay? So if you want to use tel, for example, if you try to run this one, you will see here that the location of the file now is in this space. So that means ang dami na kasi nating ginamit na F, no? Sa na example. Ayan, dito puro F yung ginamit natin. Okay? So kapag ka ginamit mo yung F, and then you try to seek means you bring the file to your initial position. Okay? So it's now in the initial position. Now if you try to use the same command here, the tel, okay? So you are now in the zeroth position. Okay? And if you try to print the F read, since you are in the first position, okay, in the initial position, and you try to print F read, you will see here, hello students of OOP, this file blank contains 3 lines. Okay, so we can read also a file by line using a for loop. For example, a while ago I tried to open this prelim exam.txt. No, these are the answer keys for the prelim exam. Okay, I use read only because I don't want to change it. No, I don't want to erase it. and then encoding technique is UTF-8. Now, if you want to print all the contents of the prelim exam line by line, okay, I will use for loop, no? So for line in F, no, because I use it to open the file, the F, no? So this is the name of the file, F, and then this will be used as the iterator variable, no? For line in F, and then I will print line. That means I will print line by line, and I will end it on the empty string. Okay, so this means that every time Python encounters a blank string or an empty string, that will end the loop. Okay, that will end the loop. So this means it will print the first line, and then after, it will continue to loop until it sees the empty string. All right, so yeah, try to execute it. So you will see here in question number 1, the Python programming language is used for creating desktop applications. The answer is true. The code 3 is more than 2 when executed shows true. The answer is false, etc., etc. Okay, so these are the syntaxes, no, covered in your prelim exam, right? So ayan, nakita nyo, until the end of the string, it will be printed similar to this one. Okay? Okay. Now, I also tried to open this one, no, just an example. This host, that text that I opened a while ago. If you remember, I opened the host located in this path. And then I tried to use an iterator to print all the lines inside this file, okay, host. So the output would be the following. You can see here that it's just full of some codes, no, showing you the contents of the notepad. Okay, so if you have a notepad, it's easy to open a file. So this is the contents of the EULA.1028.txt a while ago, the end user license agreement for line in G, ang sabi ko. And then I print every lines. No? So this is the output. Yan. You see here, okay? Yan, yun yung output natin until the end of the line. Okay, before I proceed with the Python file methods, so we can pause for a 10-minute break. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, so we're back. Okay, so let's proceed now with discussing about Python file methods. Now, actually, there are many methods available with the file object. And if you try to open a file, and then you can do many things, no? Some of them have been used in the above examples. For example, we use the read function, okay? And then we also use seek. I think, yes, we use the seek, and then we use the tell, and then we use the write. No, but there are some methods here that basically we also use the closed. Okay, so basically those are the commonly used Python methods or Python file methods. But there are also some methods here that you may want to study, no? And basically you can apply it in some of your programs. Okay, so just read the function and then the description of the file, which is written next to the method. Okay, for example, the touch is used to separate the underlying binary buffer from the text IO base and returns it. Okay, you can also use flash, which is used for flashing the write buffer of the file stream. Okay, so there are plenty of methods that you can use for Python file methods. Now let's proceed with the Python directory. So a while ago, when I tried to open a certain file inside my directory, you notice the directory is written in the two ways, no? The first one is using the / and the other one is using the \. but we have to eliminate the problem of the Unicode, no? By writing R in the beginning of the path. Okay, so um, why do we need to actually study about Python directory? Now, if there are a large number of files to handle in Python program, actually we can arrange our code within different directories to make things more manageable. So a directory, or I keep on mentioning about directory, actually it's what we call the folder, no? So if you have a folder, you have a directory, all right? So the folder is the same as the directory, in other words, okay? It's a collection of files and subdirectories, meaning there are lots of files and lots of folders inside your main folder. And Python has the OS module, okay? OS means operating system module, that provides us with many useful methods to work with directories and files as well, okay? For example, you can get the current directory, okay? So this is the command for getting the current directory, no? You use import OS. Of course, you need to import OS, meaning you're trying to import the what we call uh, the OS. No, as I mentioned here, the OS is used to give us a way of opening the files, no, inside the Python. This is the module, no, the module that is used that can provide also us with many useful methods to work with directories and file as well. So what we did here is to import OS, and using the module here, OS, and then the dot method, we use the function get CWD. So CWD means here current working directory. So if you want to know where you are actually, inside this Jupyter notebook, so you can execute this and you can see that I am inside the users folder, inside JVTI, and then documents, and then inside my folder CPE009 object-oriented programming. This is where I am now. This is my current working directory. Okay? Now, if I want to get the current working directory in binary mode, okay? So this means that you will see that uh, in binary mode, okay, so this will be used to interpret where I am also. Uh, that means this is another way of getting the current working directory. Okay, so you can also run this, and you can see here that I am still here in my current directory. Okay, so the extra backslash that you see here, okay, implies an escape sequence. That is why it's written here B or something like R, okay, to prevent some error, okay? And the print function will render this properly when you try to use double backslash, okay? So for example, if you want to print OS get CWD, okay? So you can see that if I try to print this one, okay, using this is the output, right? Using OS that get CWD, this is the output. But if I want to print OS that get CWD, like what I did here, I tried to print using the print function, but it gives me the correct syntax format, no? So the correct syntax format is only um, single backslash, right? Now, is it okay to change directory or to change from one folder to another? Yes, you can. No, we can change the current working directory by using the ch or change dir or directory. Okay, this is a method if you want to change from one directory to another. For example, I am working in this directory, right? If I want to proceed or to go to a folder uh, in my drive C, okay, I would want to go inside Python 39. This is a folder, no? As you can see, I have a folder here in drive C, okay? Want to open this file. you will see that there is a folder here called Python 39. Okay, this is the folder that I'm going inside in. Okay, so you can see if I change my directory, so if I run this one, now I'm inside this folder. If I try to print my current directory, you will see that I am now inside this folder. And if I try to print OS get CWD, you will see that I'm inside this directory. Now, if I want to know what's inside this folder, no, that means you want to list all the directories or folders, and you want to also list all the files inside this folder. Okay, so you can use the list dir method. Okay, so inside this directory, let me change again. No, so I changed the directory again. Okay, but actually it's okay if you don't want to change. No, for example, this one, just use os that list directory. So this will give us the content of drive C and then Python 39 folder. So you can see here, okay, sorry for that. So these are the contents of uh, this command, no? So it contains a list of, because you're trying to list the contents of the file, no? So all the files has an extension, okay? For example, uh, .py is a file because it has an extension Python. .text is also a file, okay? .exe is also a file. .pdb, .dll, okay? These are all files, and .dll. But if you see something like dev, dlls, doc, lib, libs, now without extension, that means that's a folder. Okay, so that's the difference, no, when you try to check which are files, which are not files, no. So you can see that there are files here, individual files, okay, and there are also folders. So these are the content of Python 39 folder, which is saved in my drive C. Okay, now I am now changing my directory, and I would want to go here because this is the path of the directory where this Jupyter notebook is residing. Okay, so I tried to change it, and then you can see here, if I try to print and get the current working directory, it will lead me to this path. Okay, so this is the path. Okay, and these are all the contents. If I want to check, no, or if I want to see all the contents of this folder, so I'll just use list directory, okay, and I will see all the files. Now, all we have extensions are individual files, but all, for example, this one, this is a folder because it doesn't have an extension file. This is also a folder, but all with extension files like .py, .jpeg, .text, .jfif, okay, .ipynb, .pdf. So these are all individual files. Okay. Now, given in this example, I have an example here. Okay. So I think this is an example for giving you um, the uh, the project submission for this project. So this is just an example. Never mind this because I have a different announcement for you later for your final project. Okay. Now, if you want to make a directory, meaning if you want to create a new folder, you can use mk dir and the name of the folder that you want to create. Now, like in this case, I created this folder. Okay. You can see I listed all the files here, and there is no, I think there is already CPE 009 folder here. Okay, this one. Okay. CPE zeros. Let me check. No, let me check. Yeah, okay. I think there's no folder like CPE 009 here. No. So if I try to create make a directory, and I want to list again, so you will see now that there is CPE009 as one. Okay? Okay, you can create a folder by using MK directory and listing the folder to check if you have already created the folder. All right. Now you can also rename a directory or a file. No, for example, you can rename this folder into this folder. Okay. So executing this and then listing all the directories, you will notice that CPE009 folder is gone. It was changed into OOP CPE009. All right. You can also remove a directory or file, meaning you can delete. No, you can delete a file or a folder from the directory. For example, here, this folder was removed. No, so you can see here, these are the list of the directory. You can see here the file OOP CPE009, and no, this is not a file. This is a folder, and I would like to delete that by using RMDIR. Okay, RM means remove the directory. So after executing this one, and um, I tried to list all the directories. So before it has this OOP, where is it? What did we? Yeah, before there was this folder, no, OOP 009. But now, since I already remove it, no, I ran this already, and I tried to list all the directories. Okay, you can see here that there is no more OOP CPE009. All right. Now, aside from in writing some files, no, in writing some file, there are many things that we can actually see, no, and sometimes when we try to write a program, it leads us to many errors. No, so, we encounter error all the time, especially in Jupyter Notebook. In any Python IDE, we encounter error, especially if we commit some mistakes. And there are many things, no, many kinds of mistakes, no, that we can do in Python. Now, a Python program terminates as soon as it encounters an unhandled error. So this is the best thing in Python. No? If there is an error, it will not continue to run, but definitely it will stop to run. Okay? And these errors can be classified into two classes. The first class is syntax errors. And the second one are called logical errors, or we call it exceptions. Okay? Now, syntax errors are, for example, it's similar to what we're doing. When we try to speak, there are some languages that could not be understood because we are actually saying it wrong. No, we are actually using disagreements of verbs and nouns, etc., etc. And when we try to write something, maybe the spelling is wrong. Okay. Also in programming, we encounter that, and that is what we call a structure or a syntax of the language is missing, or you're doing it wrong. So we call it, or Python calls it, syntax error, or we call it parsing error. Now in this case, you will see here a syntax error. So that means there is an invalid syntax here. And you will notice that if A is less than 3, so what is the error here? The error here is that the first error is that it since this is a conditional statement, it should be terminated by a colon symbol. No, like in this case, I corrected it. In this case, it should be ended with a colon. No? And since this is a conditional statement, it should follow a block of statement. No, a pass could do. Okay, a pass or an empty conditional statement could do. It will continue to run without errors. But if you did not write anything here, no, even for example, if you use this one, no, even if this one is correct, if this one is correct, you put a terminator. And if you run this one, it will still have a syntax error. Okay? So what is missing here is the empty block statement or anything that says, for example, print error, something like that. Okay? Now, also another error here is that this variable a is not declared. So even if it is correct, you can see here that it will say, it's not anymore a syntax error, but it says a name error. Okay? A name error means maybe you use a variable that you failed to initialize. Okay? So you can see here there are plenty of examples, and the errors, the arrow no, in the errors, you can see the arrows in the error indicates where the parser ran into the syntax error. Meaning when this line was encountered by Python, okay, the parser ran into this syntax error. And it prints, you can notice here that a colon is missing in the if statement. No? So this is the first case that we run into, okay? So in this case, what we have here is a syntax error indicating that this is an invalid syntax. No? So we corrected it, okay? And then, but then again, there is another error again that we encountered. We call it the name error because we use a variable here that we did not initialize in the beginning. So we corrected the error here, and then if we try to run this one, now this one is doing okay without the errors. Now, the other type of error is what we call the Python logical errors, or we call it the exceptions. No? Actually, errors that occur at runtime, these are errors that occur at runtime. After, for example, passing the syntax test, we call it the exceptions or logical errors. No? For example, there are plenty of exceptions that we can encounter in Python. One example is the first error that I showed you a while ago. When we try to open a file that does not exist, and this file is what we call this error is what we call the file not found error. Okay, and then if you remember going to the first part of the program, you can see here that there's a file not found error, and then there are lots of errors also that we encountered here. What are those errors that we encountered? Actually, we deleted the errors here, but if the file is, for example, you try to open a file, but the file is misspelled, no? For example, I try to copy this one, huh? I'll show you, okay, this one, no? Okay, okay. Even if the path is correct, okay, just to show you the errors that we encountered before. Okay, I'm going to show it here. Okay, where is it now? So this is where we at. Okay, here. Okay, this is just an example of the errors that we encounter. No, for example, here I'm going to insert a cell above. No? Like in this case, I'm going to make this one wrong spelling. No? For example, I put here sample1.txt. I don't know if there is a file called sample1.txt. Okay, and if I try to print f, for example, the handle, I will try to print the handle. So if I try to execute this one, this will give me a file not found error. So this is what I'm talking about. No? We encountered file not found error because this one is really not here. No, I actually I know that there is sample1.txt, sample.txt, but there is no sample1.txt. That's why it's called, this is a file not found error. Okay, another one which is also considered to be an error, if you try to divide a number to 0, you call it zero division error. Okay, because division by 0 is illegal in mathematics. Also this one, for example, yeah, like in this case, I tried to open this file, but this file is not found. So that would be a file not found error. So these are what we call the Python built-in exceptions, meaning if you try to print all the files or all the errors in Python. There are plenty of errors, no, that you can encounter. For example, arithmetic error, assertion error, attribute error, base exception, blocking error. Andito lahat yung mga overflow error. Andito lahat yung errors, no? Zero division error. What else? We also have Unicode encode error. Yan. OS error, module not found. Yeah, something like that. Keyboard, no? Keyboard interrupt, no? For example, if your program is running and you interrupt it by canceling the operation of the program, so that is what we call the keyboard interrupt. Okay, so these are what we call built-ins, no, that definitely it will return a module of the built-in exceptions, functions, and attributes, no, and it allows us to list these attributes as strings. Now, some of the common built-in exceptions in Python programming along with the error that caused them are listed below. Ayan. So, ito yan, yung mga example. You will see the name, okay? It's really written as this, no? For example, this is the name of the error and then the cause of the error is also written here, okay? So, you can see here some basic error that we encounter. Okay, so try to read this. I will not discuss this anymore, but try to read every error so that you will have an idea what is the error all about. Okay. Now, in Python, okay, we can handle errors because there are also built-in and user-defined exceptions. No, we can try. We can in Python we can use the try, except, and finally statements, okay, to avoid error. That means, as I mentioned a while ago, when Python encounters an error, it automatically stops the program, no, wherever you are, wherever you are at the program, no. But if you really want that, for example, you're writing a program and if you really want the program to continue, so you can use try, except, and finally statements. I'll show you later on how to do that, no? So basically, for example, no, this is an example. Let us consider a program where we have a function A that calls function B, which in turn calls function C. No? If an error, no, happens in function C, but is not handled in C, the exception passes to B and then to A. So you may not understand it clearly because there's no example, but I'm trying to give you an example later of this one, okay? Now, if never handled, an error message is displayed. So what we're doing is that we will encounter an error later, and then what we will do is to create an option to continue the program even if an exception was encountered. Okay, so this is the best thing here in Python. No? Even if you meet an error, your program will continue to run. Okay, your program will continue to run as long as you do something about it. No, so you have to handle the error. Okay, so that means in Python you can handle the error. This is what we call handling exceptions or catching exceptions in Python. Okay, so this is an example here. I have a random list. Okay, I imported the sys, no? So this is a module to get the type of exception because this is what we're talking about, okay? The exception or the errors. Now, I have a list here. It's called random list. And it contains a character A, it contains an integer 0, and it contains an integer 2, okay? And then what I did here is to create a loop, okay? So I'm trying to loop inside this list, okay? So every character in the loop will be presented using this loop, no? Okay? But I use try and except. Okay? Why did I use try and except? Okay, I will try to do this, okay? And I use break, okay? And then use except method, no? So this means except method means If this will not work, okay, if this will not work, would be this would be executed. Like in this case, I print the entry, no? So the entry would be the following, no? For example, since it's looping on the list, no, the first thing that it will print here is the first item on the list, no, which is character A. So you will see here the first printed value is A. Okay, and then what I will do is to create a variable here that I will divide it, no, by the uh, I will divide it by the element of on the list, no, which is the character A. Okay, but here you will see, okay, that there was an error, no, there was an error here because it failed to convert the character into an integer. Okay, because we can only divide an integer. That's why it's converted into an integer. No, we cannot divide 1 to a. No, 1 over a string is not allowed. So we have to convert it to an integer. Okay. So this means this is an error actually. But you see the program continues. No, the program did not stop here. It continues to run, but it says here, okay, if this one has an error, okay, in this part, it will break the loop, okay, it will break on the loop, and it will do this, okay, it will do this. And what does this thing do? Okay, so this one, okay, should either print the error that has been committed. Okay, like in this case there is a value error because dividing 1 over integer, I mean when you try to convert integer, no, so let me show you the error. Okay, so I have here a character. Okay, so a is equal to character A. Okay, and then I will try to convert a into an integer. So anong mangyayari dito? It says this is a value error. But this one is a value error. As you can see, this is what the system, no, the sys.exe underscored info. This is used to determine what error did Python encountered. So sabi niya, oops, class value error occurred. So this means that this will list the name of the error or the exception committed or encountered in the program. Here, okay, I gave you an example. This is what Python encountered. No? In converting this string into an integer, it's not allowed. No? It says value error means invalid literal for integer with base 10 using the string character A. Okay, so that's why it says here it will print the error and it will also print next entry. Okay, and then it will print another line. Okay, and it will not actually it will not go out of the loop, no, because it will continue to loop on the second character, which is 0. Okay, so you can see here that the next entry or the entry is 0. So it's always like this. No, it will print the element, no, the element on the loop. It's 0 now, and you can see now here. Okay, when we try to divide 1 over 0, what is 1 over 0? 1 over 0 is a 0 division error. That is why it says here, it will print the error, the name of the error, and it will also print next entry. It will print another line, and then it will print the last element on the list, which is 2. Okay, and then you can see when I try to divide 1 over 2, since it is allowed, there is no error committed. So the program actually, the program actually proceeded with this one, no? That the reciprocal of this, no, of this entry of 2, no, which is the last element, is equal to R. When what is R? R is 1 over the entry. No? And our entry is 2 in this case. No? So 1 over 2 is 1 half or 0.5. Okay, so this is how we use try and except. We try this, okay, and we also use break as a symbol to break out of the loop, okay. But if we encountered an error, this will be used. Okay. I hope I can see this in your project. No, this usage of uh, exceptions. No, for example, if the user entered a wrong value. Okay. So for example, if your program is only designed to accept integers and floats, but the user enters a character. So you will say that the program will not stop, but it will definitely say that you inputted a wrong, something, no. So it's some kind of error handling, no, and how you handle errors. Okay. So I have here another example. Okay, and in this example, you will see, okay, that if I try to delete the try and except, no, so what will happen? So dito pa lang sa unang loop pa lang, okay, nag-stop na siya. Okay, you can see the error. As I showed you here, when I try to divide, because 0 here is the first character or element on the list. So, dinivide na natin siya dito. So, error kagad siya. Okay? So, you can see some explanation here. You can understand how these things are. Okay? So, getting back to the first example, so you can see now that there are no problems, but definitely we use the try and except, no? However, there are variations here, no? You can see that now instead of using the command sys.exe_info, I use here e.class, no, underscore, double underscore class, double underscore, okay, because I use exception as an alias of e, okay, and I use this class of exception as e, and then I definitely put here the classes, no. So yun, binanggit niya rin, definitely it's the same as this one, no? It's either you use this formatting or this one here, okay? To get to the correct values of getting listing of the exceptions that you encounter in Python, okay? Now, another example that we can have is this one, no? You can catch specific exceptions in Python. In the above example, we mention any specific exception in the except clause, no? This is not a good programming practice, as it will catch all exceptions and handle every case in the same way. Actually, we can specify which exceptions an except clause should catch. And a try clause can have any number of except clauses to handle different exceptions. However, only one will be executed in case an exception occurs. And you can use a tuple of values to specify multiple exceptions in an except clause. No? Here's an example of the code. No? For example, here you can use try, and then this is an empty class. And then after try, you can use except value error, so the name of the error. And then you can also use except the type of error. Okay, you can see here this is a zero division error, and then except. Okay, so you can use multiple exceptions. No? So rather than declaring this one, rather than using this one, you can use multiple exceptions. Like in this case, this is a value error. This is a zero division error, and this is the exception which handles all other exceptions. Okay. Now, raising exceptions in Python. What is this? In Python programming, exceptions are raised when errors occur at runtime. And we can also manually raise exceptions using the raise keyword. Okay? We can optionally pass values to the exception to clarify why that exception was raised. Like in this case, we raised keyboard interrupt. Okay? So that means um, that this is an error, no, encountered, no, a keyboard interrupt is an error, meaning the program will stop because something in the keyboard was interrupted. No, you use keyboard to interrupt the program. That means, no, hey, this is another error we can actually create, for example, memory error, and then we can place an argument here. Okay, so you can see memory error. Okay, you raise this error, and this is what's inside this error. This is an argument, no, that we place here. So actually this string values here can be changed. No, it's up to you. No, like in this case, I have here an input coming from the user. No, I place it inside A. And then I ask if A is more than or equal to 0, I will raise the value error. Okay. I will raise a value error that says that is not a positive number. Okay. Except value error as VE, I will print VE. Okay. So you can see here, this is a very nice example. No? So if I try to, I'm trying to input a number here. Okay. But if the number is less than or equal to 0, let's say it's equal to 0, it will say that is not a positive number. Okay. So i-erase niya tong error na to. Okay. Actually, there's no error, right? But you make it, no, as an error. You made this one as the error. No, because you're trying to get something from the user, no? But what you get from the user does not satisfy what you want. Okay? For example, you ask the user to only enter a positive integer, but the user entered a negative number. You see, if I enter a negative number here, and I will try to press enter, so you will say raise value error. You will say that that is not a positive number. Or you can say, para mo sinabi, ang kulit mo, sabi ko, positive integer. You can say that, no? For example, I use 0, okay? You say, ang kulit mo, sabi ko, positive integer. Okay. So, pwede mo sabihin na, run mo nga uli. See? If I say negative 4, so ang kulit mo, sabi ko, positive integer, run mo nga uli. Alright, so pwedeng ganyan, no? So you're creating a program, okay, that the only you're limiting the errors that would come from the user. Okay, so you can use the raise exception, okay, or raise error method. Like in this case, if this is not what you expected, no, you're not expecting a negative value and a 0. So you can now raise the value error, definitely, and you can say that that is not a positive number. Okay? And then you can use, since you use try here, you have to use except. Okay? And what is this except? That is the value error. Okay? So what you have here, if I enter positive number, so it will have no error at all. No? It is being accepted by the program. But if you enter the wrong number, if it is negative 15, for example, that is not a positive number. Okay? So that is definitely what we're seeing here. Now, another thing that we could do in Python is that we can use the try with else clause. No? How do we do this? Now, in some situations, you might want to run a certain block of code. Okay? And if the code block inside try run without any errors. For these cases, you can use the optional else keyword with the try statement. So, pwede natin gamitin yan. Okay? Note here, no, exceptions in the else clause are not handled by the preceding except clauses. Now, let's look at this example. No? So, this is a program to print the reciprocal of even numbers. So, I put here, enter a number. Okay? So, I use the keyword assert. Okay? So, what is this assert? Okay? So, if you try to search here in Python, what's assert is, so what do we do when we try to ask Python about it? So you ask help, no? So ask some help, no? And then you can type here assert. What is assert? So it says here that assert, okay, sabi niya rito, assert statements are a convenient way to insert debugging assertions into a program. Okay? Yan. Like in this case, no, assert expression is equivalent to if debug, no? If not expression, you raise assertion error. So basically, itong ano na to, let's try to stop it na from running. So you can assert now that if this is not true, okay? So what we have here is a number. We use the modulo 2 and it should be equal to 0, meaning if it is equal to 1 and not 0, it would be wrong or false, no? So it will only be true if it is equal to 0. If the number that was inputted here, we divide it by 2 and there is no remainder, then that is true. Okay? So we created here a program to print the reciprocal of the even numbers. Now, how do we do that? Okay? Only reciprocal number or only those that are even numbers would be converted into to the else function, no, here. Okay? Because the else function here prints the reciprocal of the number. Okay? And what is the reciprocal? That's 1 over the number. But you see here, if it is wrong, no? If, for example, if it is not, this is just to test, no? Whether the number entered is an even number or an odd number, no? So if it is not an even number, it will print not an even number. And the else part here, okay, gives us the aim of the program, which is to print the reciprocal of the even numbers. All right, so let's try to run this, and you will see if you enter an odd number, it will say not an even number. If I try to enter a sorry for that. I try to run this one. I try to input a negative 4. It is an even number. Okay, it will say it's 0.25 negative of that. Okay, so definitely this is running very, very, very good, no? Now, also in Python, we have what we call try and finally. No, I used this already in the example above, no? The try and the finally. Okay, to try is to open the file, and then finally is to use the closing the file. So this type of construct makes sure that the file is closed, no, even if an error happened during the program execution. So for example, if in opening this file and you did something here, blah, 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 and then you close the file, no, using f.close, no, it makes sure that all errors will be handled. All right. Now, you can also create custom exceptions, no, meaning, yeah, like in this case, now you will see you can create a class, okay, as part of the exception class. So this is a child class that you're creating from the parent class exception. This is the parent class exception. And this is the name of the class that you're trying to create. Okay, you remember classes, okay? This is what we call inheritance. Now, all the attributes inside the exception class will be inherited by this class. No, mali na error pa. Okay, so let's try to create that class, okay? This is an empty class, okay? But here, we raise that, no? We can raise that class that we created, okay? And then ito yung sasabihin niya, no? Gawa natin itong error na to. This means that this is a custom-built exception. Tayo gumawa nitong exception na to. Okay? Kaya when you try to raise this, it will say, it will contain the error that we have created. No? Ito na. Ito na yung error na ginawa natin. Gawa natin itong error na to. You can also change what's inside this, no? If you try to raise something, no? And then you can change the error or the string that defines the error. Okay? So you can see here, this is the name of the error, and this is the corresponding description of the error. Okay? Okay, another example for user defined exception in Python. No? Let's say we have a class here. Okay, this is a child class. We created an error. We put it inside the exception. No? And then we created another error called value too small error. Okay, and this is a child of the error that we created now. Another child is this one, value too large error. And then this one is value too small error. Okay, so basically this is the base class, okay, for other exceptions, but we cannot say it's a base class, no, because it's only a class. It's a child class, no, from the exception class. Okay? And then this one is raised when the input value is too small, kaya tinawag natin siyang value too small error. And the other one is raised when the input value is too large, no? Kaya tinawag natin siyang value too large error. Okay, what we're doing here is to create a game, no? Now we have a number here. We identified it as 10. But we will ask the user to guess the number until he or she gets it right, no? So while true, so that the user will try to input a number. If the number, okay, inputted by the user is less than the number, we will raise value too small error. So instead of printing, we're trying to raise an error, okay? Okay. And this error that we're creating is an error that we have created here, okay? The error is a value too small error. And the other one is value is too large. So we're trying to raise this value too small error. And then also if the number is more than the number, no, the inputted number is more than the number, it will raise value too large error. Okay. Then we will see here there's a break statement breaking out of this block. Okay. And the except, no? Ito yung except natin, ginawa natin siya ng description, no? Just to print, this value is too small, try again. And then this one has this value is too large, you can try again. But if the user identifies or guess the correct number, it will print, congratulations, you guessed it correctly. Right? So this is an example of that. If I enter 23, it will raise the value too large error, and it will print this value is too large, try again. If I write 0, no, because this one is less than the number 10, it will raise the value too small error, which prints this value is too small, try again. Negative numbers the same, and 100 is too large. And then if you get the correct answer, no, the correct number, it will say congratulations, no, you guessed it correctly. So yan. And these are the explanations here. By the way, this notebook is already in the in the module. You can try to check that on the module. Okay, let's pause for a break.